Welcome to the Draw Shop's Get Genius podcast, where we talk to today's business influencers to pick their brain and pull out their genius. It's time to get genius.
Hello, and welcome to the Get Genius podcast. Today, I am talking to Alison Cardy, who is the founder and CEO of Cardy Career Coaching. And today, we are going to talk about so many cool things. This is why I love having the show, because there's so many entrepreneurs out there that are really dedicated to helping people and really helping people be happy and thrive and just love their life. And that's exactly what Alison does with her clients. And she she developed a signature career clarity method because she herself had experienced what it's like to be frustrated, not being in the right career, to not be fulfilled. And she's experienced the worry that can come from that when you're in the wrong career, especially when you know that you're not in the right place and you know that there's probably something more you can give to the world. And those are the people that she works with. Sometimes it's even people being in that position without really knowing it, knowing that that's the reason they're feeling the way they feel. She is super awesome, a highly structured thinker with a love for optimization, and she is determined to give people the most effective, quickest path to career clarity through her work. And she's worked with hundreds of professionals over the course of many years. And we're going to talk about some case studies that she has and clients that she's worked with and what their results were. We're also going to talk about just being an entrepreneur and answering a pain point or a problem that might be a little bit harder to market than you think it would. That's the other thing that I find interesting with entrepreneurs is sometimes they have a problem that they relate to, but getting it out there and even getting people to realize, oh yeah, I have that problem too, can be a little bit challenging. So we talk a little bit about that. But Alison is just incredibly awesome with all that she does. And she's the perfect person to have put this business together. And I'm just excited for you to hear all that she brings. I think it's going to be really eye-opening for a lot of us wherever you are at in your career. Enjoy. Hello, Alison, and thank you for joining me today on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Summer. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to talk about some really good stuff. So your business is called Cardy Career Coaching, and we're going to get into all about what it is and how it works. But I'm guessing, just based on what I know about you and your business, this is something that you're pretty passionate about in helping other people. So if you could maybe just give us the short version of Alison and what got you into creating this business.
Definitely the short version, because there certainly is a long one.
I know. We all have the long one.
Right. Well, I have amazing parents who I'm very grateful for. And one of the things that they accidentally gifted me was encouragement to go down the wrong career path. So my mom had been through a career change herself from being a teacher. She became an accountant, and it was a wonderful change for her. So my parents very thoughtfully said, we figured this out. The right career is to go be an accountant. And they pushed me in that direction. And unfortunately, I don't really like details and I don't like arbitrary rules. So it wasn't a great fit for me. And I really struggled for a couple of years trying to figure out, well, if not this, then what? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? How do I figure that out? And I eventually wound up realizing I would be really good at a helping profession. And I made my way into volunteering at a crisis and suicide hotline, and then into coach training, and then very naively opened up a coaching business and just wanting to help the people, and I've been at it 9 years now, and I have brought on a team 2 years ago of amazing coaches, kind of systematize what we were doing And my goal is really to help people find a career path that's going to be in good alignment with who they are and what they're wanting most in life, because I think careers impact so much of our experience of life. When they're out of alignment, they kind of bleed into self-confidence, how you treat your family, whether you want to even go out with friends. So that's really my big thing, is helping people like their work.
That is so true. And I'm so glad you said that, because there's always, people are talking about the work-life balance, balancing personal with work and all of that. And really for a lot of us, especially when you're doing something that you love, it will kind of bleed into each other. You know what I mean? It's kind of a blend of things. And there's people that have that, mindset of like, I'm just going to go to my job. I'm going to be miserable from 9 to 5. And then I'll, try to detach myself at the end of the day, which sounds really sad to me, because if you think of the amount of time that you're spending in your whole life, not being happy, not feeling fulfilled because you're just wanting to get the paycheck, it's like, oh, that sounds so daunting. So for some people, I think it's hard. They're just like, well, that's what I have to do. So I'm hoping that for a lot of people today, we can shift that whole mindset.
Yeah, it's a good point. So I think that careers really impact 3 big areas of our lives. They impact our financial health, our level of fulfillment, and kind of our personal time or well-being. Like if you think about any job, it's going to have an impact, or any career path, it's going to have an impact in those 3 areas. So what I find is that when people come to us, typically it's because either their career is just out of alignment in general, or something has changed that is now making them put a different emphasis in those 3 areas. And typically with our clientele, we work with people who are looking for more fulfillment. They really want to feel like they're making a difference, feel like they're playing to their strengths. They recognize that in life, there are always going to be good days and bad days, but they're hoping for more good days than bad days at work. But that's not to say that is a universal answer. I think I would love if everybody could love going to work every day, but we do have clients kind of in other buckets where maybe they are doing something really fulfilling and they're not making good money at it. And then it's like, well, how do I get more of that? Or a typical scenario, I'm in the DC area, is I've been working in the nonprofit sphere. There's like a big nonprofit hub here.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to save the world, and I am not taking care of myself financially. And I want to figure out how to do that. So I don't think there's a right answer in that mix. I think it's really what's the priority for that individual and how do we get them more of what they're wanting.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I'm sure there's also, the people that are doing really, really well at their jobs, and they're maybe getting promotions and they are making good money, but there's just something off with what they're doing. There's something that's just not fulfilling. What are some of the things that, if you are in that position, like what are kind of the symptoms, I guess you could call it, of, being in a position like that? Because I guess I wonder, could people be in that but not really realize it because they just expect that this is just what's normal?
Ooh, that's a juicy question. Yes, I think so. I think that, if you have the philosophy that, and it's almost like an old mindset, I think that's been kind of passed down. If you have the philosophy, it's called work for a reason, nobody likes what they're doing, this is just to pay the bills, then it really does block your possibility or your mental awareness that there could be more for you. So ding, yes, for that one. In terms of the signs and symptoms, there's quite a few. I think that it's really an idea of you may be achieving things in your career, but it just doesn't connect to you personally. So it just feels off. I think one big sign for people is they think about their career a lot, right? So not what they're actually doing, but they just think about, am I in the right place? What would be better? There's like this mental swirl that gets created. So often when I talk to people, I ask them, like, what would it mean to you if we could get this figured out? And they say, it would mean the world. Like, it would mean this big weight that's been on my shoulders will dissipate. So it's almost like if you're thinking a lot about your direction, it's probably a sign that you're not really in a good direction. And then more kind of tangible things are, I sort of referenced them earlier, but typically in positions that aren't a good fit, you're not going to be feeling that successful. Your confidence might have taken a hit. You might be in a toxic work environment where you just feel like you can never win. That's probably not good for anybody, no matter what. And then you come home cranky, you come home very drained, not just drained from I put in a great day's work, but drained like beyond that. When people ask you the question, what do? You want to go run and hide and you hate your answer. That's a really good sign.
Yeah.
Or even like I've had people where they say like, I don't want to date because I don't want to tell people about what I do. So if you feel kind of a hiding or a shame or a lack of pride around your work, if you come home and you're snappy with the people that you care about, those are all good signs that probably something is not working for you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, so let's talk about what it looks like when you are, and you have something that's called finding your career path, and path stands for something. I'd like to talk about what that is, and then maybe after that, kind of go through what your process is with a client.
Sure. So when you find a path that feels good to you, and it is a path, not a destination, what I find for our clients, we work with really capable, wonderful people. Once they know, oh, this is where I'm trying to head, like this is the direction that's a good fit for me, then even if they're not totally there yet, but they have something to work towards, that's when that relief comes in because you can actually like, I'm making progress. So really getting clear on the direction is, I think, the key step that gets missed far too often, where people notice that they're unhappy and they're like, okay, I want to fix this. And then they jump to, in my world, I work more with employees, though entrepreneurs have this issue as well. For employees, they'll jump to, let me just look for that next job. But it's kind of like they missed a step. They never figured out, well, what do I want?
Yeah.
Then you can really find that a whole lot more easily. So getting on your path, when that happens, what it means is you feel like you're playing more to your strengths. You feel like in alignment with the work that you're doing. You probably wind up in a better work environment because you have kind of higher standards. You feel more energized by your work, though, of course, we all do get tired at the end of the day. But more energized, more engaged. You probably have a smile on your face when somebody asks you what you do, and you might not be able to shut up about it. So that's kind of some signs of, and your confidence goes up because you're good at what you're doing at that point.
Right.
I think you asked, and forgive me if I'm going on a ramble, I could talk your ear off about all of this.
No, I love it.
I think you asked, how do we do it? And I could tell you whatever you want to know, but I think at a big picture, I think the place where people get so hooked around career direction, figuring out where they want to be going, is they assume that because it's going to relate to them, that they should just know, like they should be able to sit and meditate and journal, and like a spark of insight is going to come and blossom, and the road is going to unfold beautifully in front of them. And this is pretty much a myth. Even when it looks like somebody has their career path all figured out, it was never something that they found in isolation. There was always a guide. There was somebody in their life at some point, maybe a parent who was like, oh, you seem interested in computers. Let me sign you up for this particular camp. Or, a mentor who was like, you're doing this job, but I think this would be better. Or a teacher who took an interest. So there was always somebody around that person offering a reflection and helping them to find a next step forward. So at a big picture level, we work with adults who probably didn't have the good fortune of having somebody in their life to do that for them when they were younger. When you're younger, it almost happens unconsciously. So it gives the appearance that you just knew, but really somebody was helping you.
Right.
So what we do is we help adults, we're that guide for them, kind of that clean reflection of helping them to connect to who they are, helping them to connect to how to translate that into the real world so that they can really move forward and start to thrive.
I love that. And I love what you're doing too, is that you're solving a big problem. It might be a problem that people don't know, which is another question. As an entrepreneur, how do you market this? How do you find your clients? How do people know that this is what they're ready for?
Yes. And my answer is it took me a while.
I'm sure.
For a couple of reasons. One, this problem is so pervasive, but also so scattered. So like people who have this issue don't really gather. They don't all get together and say, I hate my job. How about you? I hate my job. Like they don't really do that. So it took me a while to figure out. We do a lot of marketing efforts in terms of speaking and all the usual suspects, blog posts, search, referrals, lots of different things. But another issue that I had for a long time in terms of helping people to understand that we're out there and that we can help them with this is I'm really, really honest. And for a long time, I kept showing people like the entire process that they were going to need to go through to get to the end result of like feeling great about their career. And I kind of banged my head against that for a while and just like crawled forward as a business until I finally understood, oh, you need to show people the results. Like that's what they're going to connect to. So really hitting the right messaging of demonstrating it is possible to get into alignment with your career. We have a lot of case studies on our website at this point. And then just really knowing our client's mindset and what like resonating with their problem and also resonating with what they're looking for.
Right.
They find us a lot better now once I figured that out.
Yeah. Well, it's hard because, and I think this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs face, especially when you start to tackle a problem that may have been a problem of your own, or it's just something that you're really passionate about. It's often very nichey. And so figuring out, like you said, it's not just like, okay, I make razor blades and most women have the need to shave their legs, or whatever. That's something that people are actively searching. It's like something that it's like, this is a problem that you have. And when you look at, your materials and how you present it on your website, it's very clear. It's like, oh, wow. Actually, if I were in that position, you speak right to it. And you also, show that, okay, you don't have to be alone in doing this. We can help you with this. And you feel very taken care of, because going at it alone could be very overwhelming. And so I think it's so brilliant, but it's like sometimes when you're so solving that problem that people don't know they have, like you said, they're not sitting around talking about, I hate my job too. Oh, me too. Let's go Google it, and find what comes up. You've got to be, creative about marketing. I like to talk a lot about marketing and all of that on here. I'm guessing that relationships for your business are really important too, like who you collaborate with.
Definitely. So we do a lot of work with alumni associations because our ideal client is somebody who is educated, likely working a white collar job of some sort, and very capable. So most of our clients are either employed or highly employable. And we find that, since we're looking for educated people who have been through university, and really coming at them through their alumni network has been a great partnership for us. And I'm certainly always open to looking for more of those in terms of how do we just let people know that we can help. It does bother me that our team has been doing this for so long. We have so much expertise, and it's kind of like to what you were saying earlier about some people just don't even believe that more is possible for them. So yeah. I'm sitting over here like, I know, one, I know more is possible for you, and two, I know how to help you to get it. So it's really something that's important to me that we get our message out, because underneath all that I do, I came into this from a goal of helping people, and really our organization, we just want to lift people up, to help them to get to that brighter future that they're looking for in their lives, in our work in particular, to really go from drifting through life or feeling like other people are making choices, and to really like take the wheel and say, this is my life, to help them to find a life that feels like their own. So it's like, it's important. So I pay a lot of attention to marketing.
Yeah.
One, because I was so bad at it for so long. So it's like, how do I get this thing to work? But two, it's just really important. It's the vehicle that really drives what I see as a very positive change that could happen individually and also at a bigger scale as well.
I want to talk about, maybe a story that you can tell us on, one of your clients. I know you have like tons of really good case studies and amazing results with your clients, but I'd love to talk about one story and what that process looked like, just to kind of give, me and our listeners just kind of a feel of what happens once they work with you.
Sure. Well, the story that comes to mind is on my website, and this is just one example of our clients. We work with people who are at all different ages and stages, men and women, all different industries. But one client we were working with was actually an international client, Suryas, who is awesome. I love her. And she came to us with, I think, an issue that a lot of people have, where she had chosen a career path pretty much for the money. And she said, okay, I've been working in this role and hating it, but I've kind of figured like at a certain mark, I'll have a certain amount of money, and then I'll be happy and I'll be able to like take some trips and like my life. And then she said, well, I got to that point in life where I had that amount of money and I was taking the trips and I still really wasn't happy. In addition to that, she had a supportive family by and large. I think most of the people that we work with have families who are well-intentioned, but not always on the mark in terms of career advice. So her family had like no idea of how to help her. And if anything, they were maybe pushing her to just stay put where she was. And if you think about that, that's a pretty big force, like a mental force have the people around you kind of holding you there, and not from a mean place, just that's what they knew. So she reached out to us and she was really wanting something better. I love, she said this line, I've been trying to Google the answer, what do I do with my life? And like, I haven't been finding the answer, which I think a lot of people do. In my personal story, I had like reams of journals and printouts. Like I was just trying to mentally figure it out. And I think she was doing the same thing. A lot of our clients, before they work with us, they've told us that they've taken personality quizzes and they've done all the exercises that they think are supposed to work, and they're still stuck. So she reached out.
Well, because it teaches you, I mean, and we've talked about that on the show too, there are those quizzes and things, and it shows you what you might be good at, but it doesn't really actually tell you what you should then be doing as a career, right? Like what's now your path of fulfillment, Anyways, that was just a good point. I mean, it's just so true. Yeah.
It's two things. One is a lot of them are not validated. They're just somebody's, made them up.
Yeah.
And two, they do kind of leave you hanging. You're like, okay, I know I like people now, but like, what do I do with that? How do I translate that into the work world? And then three, sometimes they give you like bogus ideas. My husband, for one example, I think, he had some test that he had taken in high school, and my husband is like, he turned out to be a litigator. So he's like communicative and happy to take a stand and be argumentative. And I think they were like, you should be a secretary. Like that was what his quiz result was.
Oh, wow.
I was like, no, that would never be a good fit for him. So, yeah. They're really a place people get stuck because it feels like you're being productive. Like, oh, I'm taking this quiz, I'm going to figure it out. But for most people, they just wind up spinning their wheels.
Well, I think sometimes too is that people will, just because, like we were saying earlier, just because you are really good at something doesn't mean it's the thing that you should be doing. I guess what I mean is you might be somebody who who really does like details, but that doesn't mean that you have to be an accountant, or you might be somebody who really likes, I don't know. I can't even think of anything, but some people are in a job where they are performing really, really well, but they're still not doing it doesn't connect with them on a certain level that makes them actually feel happy and excited to wake up in the morning to go do it.
Bingo. If you could see me, I'm nodding my head. With our clientele, because they're so capable, sometimes they get pretty doggone far up a particular career ladder, and it's just the wrong one for them.
Yeah.
Even though they're clearly doing all right. And sometimes I tell people, like, if this is how far you got with something that isn't even the right fit for you, like, what do you think would happen if we put you on a path that you actually wanted to be on?
Right.
What a difference it would make.
And so how does that happen? Like, what's the first step in getting there and figuring that out?
Sure. And I can take you back to Suryas, the client story I was starting to tell. So the first thing that we do is we have our clients do a little bit of guided introspection. So any career that they go on is really going to need to be based on who they are. So we do want to get to know them really in depth. We have a questionnaire, and then we do kind of an individualized assessment where a coach really digs in and starts to help them to make connections, to identify their themes, to really say, like, okay, in an ideal world, if we could make a job description for you, what would it include? So that's the first step, is just identifying those things. And I think some people make a mistake in kind of believing that the point of that is to get it perfect, or like the point of that is like just the assessment. But that's really just a starting point. Like,
right.
We can have it be good enough. And it's not like if you were walking around and you're like, here's my ideal job, and you knew the right words and all that, but you didn't have anything beyond that, you would still be stuck. So The point is not to like get that perfect. It's just like, okay, here's kind of the general, for Suryas, here's kind of the general direction that you want to be going in. I believe in her case, she loved improving policy. Like, that was her favorite thing. She would like do it in her apartment building. Like, she would just like attend all the board meetings and try to improve people. So she just loved that. And she was doing something that was a lot more numerical. I know that my story is that way too, but many people come from many backgrounds. So we start there. And then the next part is really to do some career exploration. So we guide our clients in figuring out, okay, what are the types of jobs in these areas that you're interested in? Let's kind of match up who you are to particular career paths. They could be employee roles, they could be entrepreneurial roles, but let's just like shine a flashlight on the road ahead. In Suryas' case, she got to talk with a lot of people who were doing that type of work. And then from there, we really want to make a hypothesis and gut check it. Like, okay, now that you've learned this is what this job actually is, does it still feel good, or was it different in your head? Because sometimes we can have in our head things are going to be wonderful, and then you learn about it and you're like, oh, that's not really what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So for Suryas, we landed on a pretty clean hypothesis. And in her case, and this is actually unusual, most of our clients don't go this route, but in her case, the game plan that we made, and this is always customized to the individual, was to go back to school to get a master's in that particular area. And I just want to put a big, big star and say most of our clients do not go back to school. Most do not want to.
Okay.
And it's to go back to school unless you have a very clear reason why.
Right.
But in Suryas' case, she did go back to school. She actually got a full scholarship to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then she has this line that I absolutely love. She said, because we do kind of interviews with former clients, and she said, I'm living my dream life now. And now the worst day in my current life is better than the best day in my old life.
Wow.
That's how big.
That's really powerful.
Mm-hmm, right? It makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah. And she probably didn't even, that's so crazy. Probably didn't even realize that was possible.
She didn't. And I think many of our clients, like I try to show them so many stories because I always ask them, like, do you think that we can help you with this? And the answer I typically get is, I hope so. But like, they don't necessarily know how to do this process, and they don't necessarily understand how doable it is. So yeah, it's, I think, surprising how quickly we can help people through it and how effective we can be at it.
And can you help with actually placing them in those positions that they've determined would be, the best suited for them?
No, we do not do that piece.
Okay.
We're really the soul search piece before the job search. But what I will note, and this is not universal because everybody kind of goes at their own pace and speed, and that's okay. But what I will note is once we give our clients or kind of create with them, help them to figure out the path that's going to be a good fit for them, like I mentioned earlier, it becomes so much easier to get it. So we do have case studies where people have gotten jobs like in the new field within our 1 month program. Like they figured it out and they've gotten the job.
Wow.
That's probably a bit of an outlier that it can happen that fast for people. But once you know what you're looking for and it is connected to you, you know why you want it, you know why it's a good fit for you, it's so much easier, 1, to find it, 2, to tell people why you're so excited about it, and 3, to actually get that opportunity. So we don't directly help with it, but we like line up all the dominoes to make it a lot easier for people to get those next positions.
Yeah. And that's just so true with anything in life. When you have that clear, what it is that you're working towards, all of a sudden you can start to see, and things just kind of, they start to show up. They might have been there before, but you didn't really pay attention because you didn't know to, but you do, You start to pay attention and start taking that action towards that. That's so cool. So really, it's like you're really giving people clarity about themselves, to kind of like that epiphany of, okay, and which has to be such an amazing feeling.
Yes, we really are giving people clarity. And I think that in many cases, it feels amazing. And in many cases, it's kind of like, oh, I kind of knew that, but now I really know it.
Yeah.
So we always get them the end result that they're looking for, that clarity, but it doesn't always feel the way that they might think, if that makes sense. So, it can be different for different people.
Yeah. So now, are people working with a coach? Are they working with you directly? Is there a virtual program? Like, how would somebody even begin?
Well, to begin, we do have an application to work with us. We have a lot of interest now that I've gotten better at marketing. This issue is going around, a fair amount of people have it. So if you're feeling this way, don't worry, you're not alone. And there's nothing wrong with you if you're feeling this way at all. But we do have an application, and we're looking for a particular type of person in terms of we want people who are going to show up for the program, who are going to participate and communicate with us as they go along. We find that when we get those people in, they get great results. So that's who we're looking for. So with the application, once you kind of get in and get registered for our program, a client would be working with a one-on-one coach. We have currently, that we're growing, a team of 6 amazing, caring, compassionate, super skilled career coaches who work with our clients. I could sing their praises all day. The amount of care they give to our clients, the nuanced level of skill that they bring to our program delivery is like out of this world.
Wow.
So what I find, and I've really been thinking, like, is this something we could do in a group? Could we change this up? But for this particular problem, I think it's so personal, and the reasons why people are getting stuck are so personal to them as well, that I really think having somebody who can be like right by your side and matching up the program exactly to you and like giving you the space to be heard is why we're so effective. So it is a one-on-one program. And then we do have like a resource library and a little bit of group supports as well. And once you're one of our clients, we do a lot of great things for you on the back end as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. So I have kind of an interesting question, I think. Is your team of people that are working with you, is there anything unique about what you do in terms of hiring, knowing that you obviously want people to feel fulfilled in their career with your business?
I think that we have to date been hiring really caring, highly emotional, intelligent people who have been through a particular coach training that I know has really good fundamentals. And mostly we're looking for people who want to be helpful and want to make a difference and have kind of that capacity to do it. I think I'm probably still learning on the hiring front. Like, as the business grows, we're needing kind of some different skill sets. And I'm like, oh, who I hired before, I might need to switch. But I'm trying to think, it certainly is something I'm very aware of and kind of perpetually in conversation with our team about, because as a career coach, I do want the people that are working with us to feel fulfilled and to feel collaborative and a part of a team. So I am always kind of looking for where's their sweet spot. All of them are clearly brilliant coaches, but one of the things that we do is, or that's my philosophy, is I don't overbook my coaches. Like, I don't ever want somebody working a 40-hour week coaching, because I just don't think you can be kind.
That's so true.
For that many hours. So I really only see our coaching team as working kind of part-time at most on coaching, just so we can deliver a really high value, a really high level of attention. And we're not just like churning people, but we're like actually caring for them. So what I'm finding now, though, is the coaches have other skills. Like, one of the coaches on my team we just bumped into, she's an amazing copywriter. I was like, oh, okay, well, we need that as a business. So I'm kind of seeing this hybrid of some people will just do coaching and they'll love it. And some people will do coaching and we can find like one other superpower that they can execute as well and add to the team.
That's awesome. I love that. We'll just go with one, because I know we're kind of coming to the end here, but what's one of the biggest lessons that you have learned as an entrepreneur in building this business?
Let's see. One of the biggest lessons I have learned.
I know we're learning lessons every day as entrepreneurs.
Yeah. No, I've got one. Okay. So the biggest lesson I've learned is, and this might sound a little bit funny, but I was blessed with years of slow external results because I was so bad at marketing. So like, I had years and years where it was just like crawling forward. I knew the process that we could help people with, and I had that down pretty quickly, but like finding the people and getting them in the door was just like brutal slog for me. And one of the things that came out of that was I had to find a way to keep going in spite of not having external results. And I learned how to be happy with the effort and the work, and to not really gauge my self-worth on how things were going, good or bad. And I think it's just given me like this crazy level of groundedness in the midst of running a business, because I think some people, if you get that fast spike of growth and you haven't been through kind of the learning curve of how to handle the downside, because I'm not saying everybody's going to have down, but there's always going to be some ups and downs. I think it can really throw people. And I just don't get thrown or I still do. I have to ask for help and all of that. I'm human. But I think that was one of the biggest lessons, was just how to keep working on something even when the external results aren't immediately showing up, and how to love my life in the middle of that time. That was a good one.
Yeah, no, that's so important. I really, really like that. Love your life in the middle of that. So true. So important. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Well, this has been so awesome. I would love to send our listeners to find out more information. I know that we have cardycareercoaching.com, and we'll have a link to that. It's Cardy, Cardy, careercoaching.com. But is there anywhere else that we can send them to get any more information, or is that the best place?
Yeah, I think sending them to the website is the best place. You are right. Cardy, Cardy, careercoaching.com. And if you poke around, there are a lot of client stories. So I think for anybody who's resonating with what I'm talking about, I really encourage you to take a look, to read through those, and to see what's possible for you, just because we've helped other people with it, just like you. So I really encourage people to do that. And also to please apply. Like I'd really love to help you to step up into that next level of your life. And I know it's possible, and we'd be right there behind you.
Yeah, and the stories are incredible. I mean, we just talked about one, but when you go to the site, you'll see the different programs that are offered, but you'll really see like how these lives have changed. It's really awesome. So I thank you for doing what you're doing. I think you're just helping so many people really reach their full potential in a really happy way.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to be doing it as well. And thank you so much for the great questions. I love talking with you, Summer.
Oh, awesome. I loved it too. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's Get Genius. You can learn more about The Draw Shop at www.thedrawshop.com, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Your home for kick-butt custom whiteboard marketing videos. Your ideas come to life. Thanks for listening. Please share, comment, and make any suggestions for future Genius guests.